Teresa Dillon with Great Wine News, and I have a special guest with us today. I have Natalie Maclean, who is obviously an amazing wine writer. She's gotten the World's Best Wine Writer Award, and we're here to talk with her today a little bit about Canadian wines, as well as her big Great Canadian Wine Match Pairing competition, which you can actually go into and participate in. So, Natalie, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure, Teresa. Thanks for asking me to be here.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about the Great Canadian Wine Match and what exactly that is.
Well, it's a people's choice. I call it a bottoms up. Lots of research involved. But what makes this different from other wine competitions is, first of all, it's all online. Secondly, it is about wine drinkers, wine lovers themselves, rather than experts, voting for their favorite wines, the wines that they love. And so we've tried to remove some of the stigma about wine and getting it right and judging the technical merits, and just opening it up a bit and saying, well, in this case to Canadians, which Canadian wines do you love? Okay, show your love. Vote for them, nominate them in 6 food pairing categories.
Great. Yeah, and you have the categories are chicken, beef, pizza, cheese, seafood, and dessert. So great categories to work with. Now, why did you decide to do Canadian wines as opposed to just the whole variety of wines that are out there in the world?
Well, first, I am Canadian. So I thought, bloom where you're planted and start where you're grown, where you're homegrown. And I also wanted to really make sure I had a good sort of tight focus for this first one, because even the food categories, chicken can be made a million ways. But we tried, the team I'm working with and I tried to give it a focus. So Canadian wines was a natural, but we are going to do more competitions with U.S. wines, international wines, and different themes, different foods. But this one really has taken off across the country here in Canada, because I think people have a bit of that patriotic sense of drinking local. That's a big movement everywhere to sort of drink and eat what is grown around you. So I think a lot of folks have had fun with this.
No, that's great to hear. So you've had really good feedback so far, a lot of voting?
Oh, a lot of voting, yes, and a lot of friendly regional rivalry. So we have wine regions from the East Coast to the West Coast. In fact, every province in this country makes wines. Some of them are fruit wines, so they're made from fruit other than grapes, so berries and so on. But our big regions are Nova Scotia, Quebec, Ontario is the largest by far, and the second largest would be BC. So there's been some jockeying between especially BC and Ontario, which is really fun because, in the end, at least from my perspective, this isn't about winning. It's about celebrating the great wines we make and people getting behind them and feeling proud. Like it's just everyday drinkers feeling like I'm the champion for this wine that I've picked.
Great. Do you have a favorite Canadian wine pairing that you like to put out there to the world?
Oh my goodness, that is a toughie. I think what we excel in Canada are cool climate wines. So think Riesling, Pinot Noir. Of course, we're known worldwide for our ice wine. I think of those, the Rieslings and the Pinot Noirs especially are my personal favorites for drinking because they're packed with flavor, but not so heavy in alcohol that you're asleep on the sofa at 7 p.m. And I also think those are also very food-friendly wines. So they don't overwhelm food. They go with terrific fresh seafood or Alberta beef or, Ontario chicken and quail. So, I have been, it's really hard to pin me down. I'll wiggle all around trying to find my absolute favorite. But those in general terms would be some of my favorite categories.
Great. Now, is there some stigma about Canadian wines that maybe you would like to help alleviate for our viewers out there?
Sure. We even have stereotypes about our own wines. If we go back to the 70s and even maybe into the 80s, it was kind of what I call the grim zoological period. So we had baby duck and Gimli goose and this whole range of animal labels. I guess that's come back again, or maybe not. But the wines were grim. They were made from not the Vitis vinifera grapes like Riesling, Chardonnay, and so on. But over time, like many regions, like regions in the US and elsewhere, we've learned what works in our soils and our climates. And the techniques have improved. There's a lot of trade internationally between winemakers doing different work terms abroad and coming back and bringing that knowledge. And now Canadian wines win on the world stage. When it comes to international competitions, the only reason you may not be very aware of them is that we have very small production.
Right.
And in wine, small is good, but it's just not well known.
Right. So great. Now, where can our viewers go and vote for their best Canadian wine pairings for your match?
Sure, it's on our site. So if you just hit the homepage, nataliemaclean.com, you'll see it. Or you can go to the specific URL, which is nataliemaclean.com/Canadian-wines. But if you go to the homepage, you'll see the contest. We still have nominations open. You can still name your favorite wines. Of course, voting continues only until Tuesday. So then we move into the finalist showdown phase, which is just going to get really competitive.
Oh, goodness.
As it can in the sedate wine world. And we'll be voting for the 5 top wines in each of those 6 food categories.
Oh, sounds like a blast. I can't wait to see who the big top winner is. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, you go and vote for your favorite Canadian wine pairing and share, obviously, with Natalie Maclean your favorites. And we'd like to thank you again for joining us today at GreatWineNews.com.